went a courting and he did ride. Frog went a courting and he did ride. Frog went a courting and he did ride with a sword and a pistol by his side. He came to Miss Mousie's door. He came to Miss Mousie's door. He came to Miss Mousie's door where he had been many times before. Oh, Miss Mouse, are you within? Oh, Miss Mouse, are you within? Oh, Miss Mouse, are you within? Yes, kind sir, I sit and spin. He took Miss Mouse upon his knee. He took Miss Mouse upon his knee. Took Miss Mouse.
I met my husband Joe when I was 18. I met him in Denver, Colorado, at a club called the Exodus. I was going to the States to work with Ed McCurdy, who was a folk singer who wrote the song Strangest Dream. Last night I had the strangest dream. And a wonderful anti-war song. And I had met him in Montreal, and he arranged for me to come and work with him in Oklahoma. So en route, I went to Denver because he was going to be there, and they were having a kind of, it's like a, it was a gathering of folk singers and club owners and managers and coffee, you know, that kind of a, what would you call it, like a trade show. They didn't call it that in those days. And so
it wasn't a hootenanny either.
No, it wasn't, but it was like a hootenanny because people got up and performed, you know, a little bit so that the club owners and the managers could see them. It was an opportunity. So I went there, and the day I arrived, I went to the club and I walked in, and my husband was in a trio with Mason Williams and another fellow, and Joe, and they were singing on stage, and I stood at the door and started bopping to the music, and Joe, of course, spotted me. Then I went to sit at a table which was sort of put aside for performers, and I was the only one there, and when Joe got off the stage, he came over and he said, "Is anyone sitting here? May I join you?" Which is pretty funny since there were about 7 empty chairs around me. So that's how we met, and the next day he took me for a drive around through the mountains, that's, you know, around Colorado, around Denver, and he told me that day he was going to marry me. And it took 2 years, but we got married, and we stayed married for 43 and a half years. We got married. We met in Denver. We got married in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Randy was born in Los Angeles, and then I said, I need to go home where there will be people to pay attention to my baby and make a fuss over her and all of that. So Joe was completely open to that. He was working at the time with Jimmy Rogers, who, "Honey, go home, won't you be my baby?" or "Oh, kisses sweeter than wine." So he was working with Jimmy at the time, but then he finished his, you know, his work with Jimmy, and then we moved back to Toronto, and he became a member of the Travelers. "This land is your land," and he sang with them for.
And that's an international song.
Oh yeah, well, it started in the U.S. It was written with Canadian words for Canada by the Travelers before Joe's time, and it's like an anthem here for sure. So he was with the Travelers for the rest of his life, but he also was a kind of Renaissance man. Before I knew him, he was a teacher of teachers in ballroom dancing. He worked for Arthur Murray's, and he taught the teachers. He was a wonderful dancer, and if we ever went to weddings or anything like that, the women loved dancing with him. I used to get nervous. I'd say, "Don't do anything fancy out there." Joe was a terrific show-off, and he loved to do something fancy.
That reminds me of one of your grandchildren.
Exactly. Anyway, he was a great dancer, but he did many other things. He was a carpenter. He worked in television and film. He as a prop master, as a carpenter, a set builder. Late in his life, he went to Home Depot one day and ran into a friend there who was setting up a display of tools, and then he was going to do a little presentation. So my husband helped the friend set up the display and then stayed and watched. And then when the guy was done with his presentation, he said to Joe, "You'd be really good at this," because Joe had every tool in the world, and he knew how to use all of them and loved them, and could fix or create anything. And so he had the showbiz genes, so he started to do these. You know, he was in his mid-70s. He started to do these presentations. So he was a man of many skills, and he was a very laid back. He was a good contrast to me. You know, if I used to get mad at him when we were really poor, and I'd worry about money. I'd worry terribly, and I'd say, "Why, you know, you're not worrying. Why aren't you worrying?" And he'd say, "You know, what good does it do? You know, things will be better tomorrow." And he was basically right. And I tried to. It took me a long time to learn any of that behavior. So he was a good influence, and we had good. You know, we loved to go to movies together. We held hands. We always held hands in the movie theater. We would buy popcorn. We would share popcorn. And he liked butter and I didn't want butter. And so we would put butter on the top of the popcorn, not too much. And he could eat the top and then I ate the rest of it. The top was, you know, like that much and the rest of it was for me. We had 2 lovely children together. We have a nice home. We had a pretty good life. We did some really wonderful, interesting traveling together. Went to Africa twice. He was my extraordinary support through all of my breast cancer journey. He always believed I was going to be fine, and he really had that impact on me. It was very helpful. And in 2006, he got sick, and he died of lung cancer. We found out about it in June, and he died at the end of November. It was pretty horrible. And he wasn't supposed to die so fast. But he died here at home. We were here, I was here, and my daughter and my son were both here, and another friend was here. And actually Bram came very shortly after that. And it was the best that horrible situation could have been. I know I took really good care of him, and but it's hard. It's hard. However, I keep reminding myself that I was married 43 and a half years, and I was his 3rd wife, remarkably.
Wow. He got it right the 3rd time.
He did. He knew exactly what he wanted.
And I've seen a picture of him, and he's quite a handsome character.
He's a sweet man. You know, when we put the announcement in the paper, the children, the little guys called him Papa Joe. And so when we put the announcement in the paper, we said, "And Papa Joe to Ethan and Elijah." And the mother of one of the kids who went to school with Ethan said to my daughter, "No, Papa Joe to everyone." And people adored my husband. I knew that people liked him, but I never fully understood the extent to which he was loved and admired. My daughter created a memorial for him that people will talk about forever. It was remarkable. And it was fun, and it was funny, and I have it. I have to look at it again someday, and I keep not being quite ready to do that. But he made my life. We were like any married couple. We fought. We had hassles. We had hardships. We had all of that. But at the core of it was a happy marriage. Lucky me. The one quality that you would give your kids, if you only had one that you could give, I think it would be self-confidence. You know, I think it's important to let your kids be who they want to be and who they need to be, and to pump them up with the feeling that they have lots of value and lots of fine qualities and anything is possible.